is when is it okay for a man to be not okay? Because I feel there's a lot of men that are walking around here with broken hearts and dry faces, which means we carry a lot of pain, but we don't show it. I don't get to show what I'm actually feeling. And the pain, it hurts, but I have to shake it off. There's a lot more to this straight face that I carry. And we need to talk about that so we can deal with it.
Welcome to the Authentic Exchange, where real men have real conversations and engage in authentic communication. I'm here today with a very special guest and fellow podcaster, Jahari Collier, a good friend and host of Adjusted Perception podcast. I'm happy to have you today. I appreciate you taking the time to join me and, share your story and give some of your insight and, lend some of your experience. So, what about the last episode resonated with you?
In the last episode, what really resonated with me was just the conversation of when is it okay for a man to be not okay? Because I feel there's a lot of men that are walking around here with broken hearts and dry faces, which means we carry a lot of pain, but we don't show it. So I think that is something that definitely resonated with me. And it's like, yeah, this is a conversation that we need to help men and women just open up and understand that there's a lot more to this straight face that I carry.
Tell me a little bit about the quote that you just said. I think that's very, very interesting. Can you give me a little insight into that?
Well, I picked the quote up from my little brother, Darrell. He had a rap song that he has put out, and I titled it Important. And in there, he's talking about that his heart's broke, but his face dry. Pain hurts, but I shake mine, which just, to me, it just says that, my heart is broken and I don't get to show what I'm actually feeling. And the pain, it hurts, but I have to shake it off. I can't display or show what I'm dealing with. So it's definitely one of those quotes, a part of his rhyme that is stuck with me since he put it out, that there's a lot of men out there that have broken hearts and dry faces. And we need to talk about that so we can deal with it.
So can you tell me a time where maybe you felt like, you had a broken heart, or was there something going on? Has there ever been, a moment in your life that you felt like maybe you weren't okay, and, how'd you deal with it? Or is there any moment where you felt like you were in that type of situation?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been a lot of times in my life, I have to say, that I've been in that situation. One moment that kind of resonated with me, that I ain't gonna say resonated, but that made me realize that sometimes men don't get the attention when they're dealing with stuff that women do. And it was during my separation with my wife. I was having a conversation with one of my sisters, and we're talking about everything that's going on. And in the midst of it, I'm realizing that what I'm dealing with is secondary to what my wife was dealing with. And everybody's thoughts and concerns were more on that than what I was dealing with, which made me just continue to look at it as like, man, men don't really get the acknowledgement or the freedom to have other emotions other than being angry and being happy. Those are like our only two authorized feelings. We can't be sad or depressed or display that we're in a moment of being lost.
So when you came to that realization and you realized that, your feelings were kind of being put on the back burner and that it was really all about your wife, how did that make you feel?
It made me feel lonely. It made me feel like nobody cared about what I was dealing with. Nobody was trying to understand or feel what I was experiencing. And it was just a terrible feeling that put definitely in a place of a depression, because it's just like, man, who cares or who's worried about what I'm dealing with? Who's going to help me through this? Who's going to support me through what I'm dealing with? And it just felt like I didn't have any of that. Not saying that they weren't there, but it didn't feel like I didn't have that at all.
I completely understand. That's really what this episode is all about. Understanding and beginning to recognize and deal with and have these type of conversations. And again, I just want to express my gratitude and my thanks for your willingness to open up and share about this, because I think that it'll be very beneficial to, a ton of men out there that are experiencing the same thing. I've come to the realization that oftentimes we all deal with similar issues, and sometimes we lack the courage to have a conversation, whether it's with our boys, whether it's with our friends or our loved ones, for that very reason, because you feel like, hey man, they just kind of, push it off to the side. They just kind of, blow it off or just kind of indifferent to it altogether. And so I want you to, dive in and talk about that experience and share with us how you got through it, what it was like dealing with it, and, kind of give some insight into what it was like. I'm sure that was a difficult place to be in. Were there factors that led up to you kind of getting to that place where you felt like, hey, maybe I'm in a state of depression or I'm wearing down? Was there anything that you noticed?
Definitely. There was probably times where like, I knew I wasn't at my best. There are times where you're dealing with stuff and you being yourself, you've been with you for your entire life. When you're on and when you're off. And when you're realizing you're off a lot more than when you're really on is when I realized that, hey, there has to be something going on with me right now. And opening up to talk to somebody isn't always the easiest thing to do, because a lot of folks don't really understand what you're dealing with. And then also, not everybody's open to dealing with that stuff because it's something that they haven't dealt with themselves. So it takes you to be open and vulnerable, and then even the person that you're dealing with to be open and vulnerable. But if you have one person that's open and the other person isn't, it kind of doesn't help the conversation to move forward, because then you may get looked at differently, which makes us hesitant to open up and say, hey, man, this is what I'm dealing with. Man, I feel like this. When she left, I felt like this. Or while she was gone, I felt like this. Or the kids, they're not giving me this attention. Or the kids are making me feel this kind of way. It's not a conversation you hear between most men. It's like, man, I deal with these other things that happen within a marriage or relationship, whether it's with your spouse or with your kids, that we deal with this stuff, but we don't talk about it. And that's just because growing up, we've always been told as a man, it's like, think about it. You have a little boy fall and a little girl fall. We look at the little boy and we'll tell him, hey man, get up, suck it up, stop crying. And we're basically already starting to train him to not deal with his emotions or the pain that he's dealing with. Okay. But the little girl, we'll pick her up, we'll brush her off, we'll baby her, we'll hold her, we'll tell her it's going to be okay. And we kind of just let her be and deal with her emotions at that time. But as a little boy, we're not doing that stuff. We're starting to already train them in the mindset that whatever you deal with, you got to pick up and carry. Nobody's going to really help you through this. Take care of it yourself.
So did you have the opportunity to express how you were feeling, or did you literally have to, bottle everything up and hold it inside yourself?
At the time, I think I did a lot more bottling up, just because in the midst of the separation and stuff, because I was the one that initiated it, there was a guilt that I carried with it, because it's like, as a man, we want to take care of our family. We want to support our wives, our kids. We want to be the head of the house. We want to be that person, but then when we break and we're not that person, we deal with not being that person that we're trying to be. And it's a struggle that we have to mentally, one, become honest with ourselves to say that, hey, I'm not this person, but I have a situation that I need to work through, and I need to find out how to work through it. Just being honest with that at first, with yourself, will start you being able on the journey to talk with other people, because we got to be honest with ourselves first before we can be honest with anybody else.
I absolutely agree with that wholeheartedly. Many people know one of my mantras in life is don't bullshit yourself. And, I say that simply because sometimes we have to get to a place where we can look in the mirror and have a hard conversation with ourselves, and really begin the process of addressing where we're at, whether that's mentally, physically, in hopes that we are able to gain awareness and move forward, in healing ourselves and making ourselves better, in dealing with or finding solutions to the situations that we find ourselves in. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly with that. Now, you said earlier that, we kind of hesitate as men. A lot of it does have to do with the conditioning that we receive growing up. You mentioned the fact that you may be looked at differently. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, being looked at differently as in not as strong. Your manhood is always challenged when you're not the stone statue that is carrying all the weight and leading the pack and doing all stuff. When you're less than that, then you're not looked at as much as a man. It's like you may feel like I'm not meeting the bar, and that's that less than there that we feel. And I think every man has a moment in time that we deal with it, whether it's quietly or out loud, that we feel that vulnerable moment, and we don't want to expose ourselves to that. We don't ever want to expose that because we're taught that showing any kind of vulnerability, somebody's going to take advantage of that. And then you're going to be somehow infiltrated and defeated by opening up yourself. So you don't expose any of your vulnerabilities. So,
I think you're 100% right. And that is really, again, why I wanted to create this podcast. I wanted to build this platform to give men the space, the environment, the atmosphere to openly share what we deal with, and oftentimes hide and, tuck away or keep from other people, man. All the while it's killing us. It's stressing us out. It's got anxiety high. It's got depression high. And, I really think that, what you're saying reigns really true. And so I, again, appreciate the fact and the willingness to share, because part of what I believe this podcast is able to do is allow men to normalize sharing and being vulnerable. I think it takes a lot of strength. I think it takes a lot of courage to open up and to share.
My bad about that.
That's all good, brother.
Look, this is the situation. So there was a meme that I caught on Instagram the other day that is an example of how society picks on men when they're vulnerable. So The meme was one, it showed how when Tyrese broke down online about not seeing his daughter, and that became a joke because it's like this man's on TV whining about not seeing his daughter. But have you ever lived through the experience where your wife, your girlfriend, your baby mama is keeping your kid away from you, and you're trying to be the father that you didn't have when you were growing up? So you're trying to be a part of your daughter's life. You're trying to be a part of your son's life. But because of the legal system, because of the way society is, it's okay for her to take the child away from you because she feels she has the right. I'm the mama. And they made fun of him on that. Or when Will Smith was dealing with the situation with Jada, finding out about August Alsina in that situation. They made fun of him in the midst of that, but that was a real vulnerable moment.
Absolutely.
That he was dealing with. And it's like, man, is it okay for us to have these feelings and emotions, to feel the hurt and the pain? And why is it that it's okay for us to have a joke made about it, than to realize that, hey, this is a person that's dealing with something, regardless of the money that they make and the position that they have in the spotlight. At the end of the day, they're human, and a human person deals with emotions, and they deal with all the same emotions. Whether you're a man or a woman, we deal with it. But the only thing is that society accepts it for a woman, but shuns it for a man. You're supposed to carry it on. Like when August Alsina was telling everybody how he felt about Jada and how that stuff hit him and it hurt him, they was like, man, he should suck it up. He's supposed to carry that weight. He's supposed to do this. He's supposed to do that. But at the end of the day, he's a person that was hurt. His heart was broke, but he wasn't being told that he was allowed to cry about it. He was like, you need to keep that to yourself. G code, whatever it is, because of the position he was playing, it was not being allowed for him to feel that way. So I was trying to pull this up just so I can say something about it. But it's just, to me, it's just really crazy how we see these people and we're watching them, but we're not giving them the opportunity, the space to be vulnerable, to be human, to be safe in their emotions. And that's definitely one of the things, like when we're talking, it's just like, is it okay for a man to be vulnerable? Is it okay for us to deal with this hurt and pain? Yes, it's okay, but are you really allowing us to deal with it? It's probably a bigger question. It's like, are you guys really supporting a man dealing with his emotional pain, his hurt, his depressions, his shortcomings, the stuff that we don't talk about? Are you creating a safe environment for them to have this conversation? Because a lot of times the women that we're with, we don't want to talk to them, because the times that we have been vulnerable and open to them, they give us this verbal beating.
Okay.
And just like anything else, if I burn myself here, I'm not going to touch the fire again.
Right.
So if I open up and I'm bringing this information to you, you may not even realize that I'm opening up to you, but the way you respond to it will make me respond too. So I may not open back up to you that way again. It may make me pull that back from being honest about, this is how I'm thinking, or this is how I'm feeling. And we need to be more accepting and listening to what people are actually saying and not taking this stuff to heart. And I know I'm saying a whole lot, but
oh no, man, you are fine, man. So I guess my question to you is, how did you navigate it when you were feeling this way? When you felt the pressure? I mean, separation, that's a lot, man. Like you said, you're dealing with stuff with the kids, or different emotional needs, or depression, or anxiety, or just the stress of it. How did you navigate it? What were some of the things that you did?
I did a lot of different things, some good things, some bad things. I did drink a bit more back in those days. I smoking cigarettes, and I'm not even a smoker like that, but I was smoking cigarettes just to try to find me a moment of peace, or to numb the feelings and thoughts that I'm dealing with, because I didn't know how to deal with them. Who could I talk to about this stuff? And then what is the response, or what are they going to think about me now? So now I'm having to deal with these thoughts and stuff by myself. Luckily, I had some people around that were into law of attraction, the universe, and meditation, which kind of helped started me on a journey on dealing with this stuff. But I also did go to therapists and psychiatrists and talk to them about this stuff, because I realized we carry a whole lot in. And if we don't let it out, eventually we're going to bust. Eventually, at some point in time, we're going to break. I think a lot of times we have a lot of health issues because we carry weight that we're really supposed to let go of, but we don't. Like I deal with migraines, and sometimes I have heart issues. And most of the time, those things flare up a whole lot more when I'm stressing about stuff that I'm not either dealing with or talking to people about. And realizing that was having an effect on my health was one of those things that made me realize, like, I got to start dealing with this stuff. I got to figure out how to get past the fear of other people's opinions and their thoughts, and realize that at the end of the day, I'm looking for some help. And if these people want to laugh at me while I'm trying to find help, then they really ain't the people that I thought they were.
So let me ask you this. Why do you think it's so difficult for us to release and let go of the thing that's hurting us?
Could be a couple different things. I think it's the way the society looks at us. And then sometimes it's security. You know, we know this pain. We know this pain, so I'm comfortable with this pain. I know we had a conversation before. It's kind of like, you know, somebody who has a disability, and instead of going to get that fixed, they learn to maneuver through life with this disability. And even though, yeah, you can fix it, I don't want to fix it, because in order for it to fix it, I got to deal with what it is, and I don't want to deal with it. So, did that answer the question?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's no right or wrong answer as much as it is, you know, just getting some thoughts. And I think that is a very great answer, in the sense that I know a lot of people that have gotten so comfortable and used to dealing with pain or discomfort or stress or anxiety or depression, that literally, because it's so familiar, the thought of not feeling that scares them.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it scares them in the sense that they're thinking like, okay, I know what this feels like. This is familiar. This is a comfort zone now. You know, like you said, I've dealt with it. I've learned to adjust my life to deal with it, but you've never really dove in and tried to heal from it, you know? And I think that is a big reason, you know, and I definitely, you know, want more men, want more people just in general to really, you know, take the first steps to beginning to deal with and beginning the process of healing. Now, I know you said that, you know, you smoked a little bit more. You were smoking cigarettes. You were, you know, drinking a little bit more, and you were just kind of looking for some peace, something to numb the feeling that you were feeling, some kind of relief from just what you were feeling. I speak in the episode, and I mentioned the fact that, you know, oftentimes we try to self-medicate first. You know, and sometimes we don't even realize it. It just becomes like a default action. I feel this inside, and so my mind just says, okay, you know what? Let me just drink a little bit more. What was it that made you feel like, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to go see somebody. Maybe I need to go talk to somebody, you know, versus, you know, kind of drinking a little bit or trying to handle it yourself?
The thing that, because I know that I was carrying the weight, and the only way for me to carry the weight was to release these thoughts. And I needed to talk to somebody that was not a part of any of what I was dealing with, and that can give me an honest perspective from the outside looking in. So being able just to go before the therapist and then talk to them about like, hey, I'm having this feelings about my marriage. I'm having this feeling about work. I'm carrying this stress from this past family hurt that I had growing up, realizing that talking to them was one, it was helping me to identify some of the stuff that I was dealing with, because sometimes we don't even realize what we're dealing with until we start talking this stuff out. So in the midst of talking it out, then I'm starting to realize, okay, that may be a situation that I didn't realize that I was carrying, because it was one of those hurts that I got used to carrying all the time. I learned to function and live with this
dysfunction.
That mentally emotional dysfunction. I just got used to it, and it didn't matter to get fixed, because it's like, you know, I'm comfortable with this pain. But definitely going to a therapist and talking that stuff out was definitely a beginning part of understanding what was going on with me, and then just trying to find an avenue from that way to deal with it.
So what gave you the courage to share your story and share, some of your experience today. How did you gain the strength to, navigate the thoughts that, hey man, how will people perceive this, or how will people look at me? What gave you the strength to say, hey man, I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to share, my truth and my experience, without, any kind of reservation or without thought to how other people, may respond to it?
Well, one, because I feel like in life, our job is to assist and help one another. We were created to be a society of a collective group and not individuals. We're made to be individuals, but we're supposed to all come together to work our piece to make the collective group work. So my courage for coming out was just wanting to be out and talk with folks that deal with this stuff, because I know there's a lot of folks that are dealing with this, and they're not always saying that they're dealing with it. And somebody needed to step up to say it, just to start the conversation, so that you start talking with your loved ones and you ask them what's really going on. You ask them whether or not, am I a safe place for you to actually be open and vulnerable to share this stuff with? Because we'll carry it. A man is going to carry his stuff. What made me want to do this is because I'm a father of girls, and eventually one day they're going to get married to a man, and I want them to understand what we deal with and accept it, but also see that it's okay. I want them to see that it's okay. So I needed to be open and vulnerable, just because it's something that I want to establish and put for my kids, and then just to help other people out that are dealing with it. Because when I was going through it, I felt like I was by myself and I was alone, and nobody else deals with this kind of pain. But we do. We just don't talk about it. So I figured if I start the conversation, at least that'll help somebody else start the conversation that they were afraid to do.
So what was the scariest part of it? I know you said, when you were feeling like you were by yourself, or when you were dealing with the pain and the hurt of the separation, what was the scariest part for you?
Scariest part was just being by myself, and not knowing how to maneuver through what I was dealing with, because it's not like we grow up and your dad's just talking to you, he's like, hey son, you're going to deal with this kind of pain. And when this happens, this is where you should be going, or this is how you should be thinking, or these are some of the actions that you should be doing. So it was scary being in uncharted territory by myself and not having a community to support me through that, because it's not a conversation that is discussed or shared in the community of men. It just isn't. Like, when was the last time you remember your homeboy coming up to you and say, man, I'm really messed up because of my divorce. I'm really messed up because me and old girl broke up. Or I'm really messed up because this is happening at work. We don't have those conversations. Not the circles that I've seen or been around. Just exposes it's not an open conversation that we have that exposes the vulnerability and the true feelings that we carry.
I get to have these type of conversations, as you know, on a regular basis. And I get to have them simply because what I recognized is that there are a lot of men that are hurting.
Yeah, definitely.
And what I've tried to do is provide the space. I've tried to hold the space to allow men to share. And I try to approach it from a non-judgmental standpoint, and just try to have empathy and compassion, because my journey was very, very similar, in the sense that I realized that when I began to become vulnerable, when I began to open up and I began to share, like, it released a whole lot of weight for me. It took a lot of the pressure off of me, and it also helped me to connect with the people that I was around in a much more authentic and meaningful way. I think those are the things that we're looking for in life, are just those connections, those interactions with people where it's genuine and it's real. And the moments where we feel like we can show up and truly be ourselves and we don't have to hold anything back because, nobody's going to try to call out my manhood and nobody's going to make a joke about it. And I think, when you brought that up, we do, I'm sure that a lot of us were guilty about the Will Smith stuff or the Tyrese stuff, but those are real situations. And, I know several guys that have been in those situations, and while they were going through them, it wasn't a joke. It wasn't funny, and so I just want to, try to keep these conversations going. I just want to, try to foster more of these conversations. And what would you say, or what do you think are some ways to do that? What would you have told your friends back then that you needed from them, or what would you, if you could go back and say, hey guys, I was dealing with this and I needed this from you, or you could have helped me if you had done this or you had done that. What's some of those things that maybe come to mind or you maybe think of?
Well, first, let me tell you, thank you for what you do, because being one of your customers and a friend of yours that does come into the shop to get a cut from you, a lot of those conversations have definitely helped with some of this strength that I'm having today, is because your vulnerability and being open about what you're dealing with or what you have dealt with or you've seen and experienced helped me to be open about what I deal with also, because it made me connect with you with, I'm not by myself in dealing with this. And so learning from your experience helped me to deal with my experience. And so, like I said, it takes somebody to initiate that conversation in order for somebody to start, in order for other people to start talking about it so that they're able to start managing and dealing with their stuff. Now, what would I advise or go back to my friends to say is, like, back in those days, it's just being present, asking those questions and sincerely trying to seek out what's going on with your friends and your people. I have a guy that I'm cool with now, and I do daily checks on him because he's dealing with some stuff right now.
Okay.
And I know he's not always open to talk about it, but I'm always wanting to make sure that he knows he has a safe place where nobody's going to judge him whether he makes a decision to go left or to go right, that he's cool with whichever one he does. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still your boy. I'm still your friend. I just want to let you know you're not by yourself and you don't have to shoulder this stuff alone. So that would be what I would tell my people from back in the day, was be like, hey, just being present and letting someone know that you don't have to shoulder this stuff alone, because it's not easy to deal with by yourself. But then also being a supportive person is not always easy to deal with, because you're like, I haven't experienced that before, so I don't know necessarily what to do. And you don't have to really do anything but be present, listen, and support.
Yeah, no, I I wholeheartedly agree. I think that a large part of it is just showing up and asking the questions. This episode I labeled a wellness check, and my call to action was really, hey man, men, check on the men in your circle, check on the men in your life, and really sincerely ask, man, how are you? How you doing, man? What are you dealing with? And I think, we have to begin to embrace this idea of dealing with our emotions and normalizing the idea that men do have emotions. Like you said earlier, the only thing that we look at as acceptable is, being extremely happy or excited about something. And we're limited or confined to being happy about certain things, or being pissed off and fighting and angry or upset, and so we have to get to a place where we understand that there's a wide range of emotions and that we are full emotional beings as well. And, I definitely think that this conversation is going to be powerful and helpful in that. As you went through your journey and as you dealt with the pain and you begin to, have conversations and seek therapy and, just begin the healing process, what was that process like for you?
It was like the journey of walking. Just as a baby, when you first start off, you're just turning over, moving yourself from left to right, and then beginning to sit up and then crawl. And in the journey of its healing was the same thing. Is because at first it was just like, let me be honest with myself about what I'm dealing with or what I'm feeling. And then being able to share that openly was the beginning of it. And then just realizing, okay, there are other ways to manage and deal with what I'm going through. That what you're dealing with is a temporary situation. It is not going to last forever, which is one of those false things that we tell ourselves, like, I have to deal with this for the rest of my life. I got to handle this, and this is all I got to do. I'm a man, so I got to suck it up and carry it. And that's such a false mindset that the world has put on men in dealing with their stuff. And through my journey, realizing that that's such a false thing, because you're limiting me as a man, saying that the only thing that I can have is be happy or be mad. But there are so many different things in that spectrum from being happy and being mad that I deal with, and being okay with that, with yourself and then with the people that you're around. Being okay with that is definitely a part of that journey. So that's definitely one of the things I say. So growing through that, knowing myself, being honest with myself, and then being open and dealing with those things has been my journey. So as time is progressing, even now, I'm not perfect at what I deal with when I'm dealing with stuff, but I'm definitely better than what I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And that's the thing, is that this is a progressive journey that you're going to always be working at, evolving and making yourself better. So it's just a journey that I'm on, and I'm enjoying as I progress through it. So, yeah.
Well, I agree. It is a journey. It's a progression, and it doesn't just happen all at once. You don't just wake up one day and boom, magically everything is healed and everything is good, and you don't have any more challenges, or you don't have any more pain or stress or things that you deal with. And so learning great strategies and learning how to consistently talk and deal with the things that we deal with, or talk about the things that we deal with, are going to be really, really helpful to, progressing on that journey. And, it makes me wonder, were you able to, as you've grown, I'm sure you picked up some different strategies and some different tools or resources. Have you kind of put together what I like to call a self-care routine, or is there something that you do to kind of protect your mental health and your overall, just your well-being? Because I think that's really what we're talking about is just the well-being. We look at it, and sometimes we're physically strong, but it's that pain, it's the stuff that we don't see inside that is really causing the most harm. And so, what have you throughout your journey been able to, pick up as tools and resources to create, kind of a system, a barrier, so that when things are challenging, when things are getting stressful, it doesn't just overwhelm you, but that you have buffers, you have, speed bumps or something in place that kind of sound the alarm. Hey, you know what? Maybe I need to go do this, or maybe I need to go do that.
Some of the things that I do is one, I recognize that, okay, hey, I'm off today. And then I start looking, I was, okay, what can I do to start changing the way that I'm feeling? So one thing is that I know that the fight is a mental thing. So you have to get the way that you're thinking about stuff under control. So you need to definitely speak more positive things or think positive thoughts, and realize that there's a solution to whatever problem that you're dealing with. And then just allowing the universe, yourself, to have those answers come up. Meditation is one thing that I do that helps out also. Exercising is definitely one of those things that I also put in just to kind of help relieve some of those tension that I deal with, and definitely having to mentally encourage, motivate. There are some of those, what do they call them? Those
like word of the day or
word of the day,
inspirational quotes or something.
All of those things. So those things, they work because you have to you feed yourself
affirmations.
There we go, my man. Affirmation. Those things right there. There's a book that I'm reading right now that you hit me on to, called The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and I'm reading throughout that book, and there's different affirmations that I pick up and I use on my day-to-day journey and what I'm dealing with. So when I'm thinking certain thoughts, I'll start to repeat some of these things. And sometimes I pray, and I talk with God, talk with myself about these things. These are the things that I do that when I know that I'm starting to head down that dark tunnel of let's see, I like to say that is where you're unproductive. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. Because I think when we get into, some of us deal with our depression through being non-productive or just sitting in it, and we need to actually start doing stuff to change the way that we're feeling about it. So we have to be active. So these are just some of the things and tools that I have in place to help myself when I'm getting into or feeling myself going down that road.
So what do you do when you need a moment, just a moment for yourself? What do you do? What's is there, outside of, you said exercising or reading, is there anything else that you do that just, hey man, this, helps me de-stress. It helps me, relax?
Running, playing pool. And I like to watch movies because I feel like there's times when I need to just turn my mind off from actually trying to resolve a situation. Because I feel as men, we're kind of programmed to fix stuff. Oh, so yeah. Even in ourselves, we're constantly like, this has to be done. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to fix this. I got to resolve this. I got to do this. And we need to stop. We need to stop and just take a break. So even hanging out with the boys sometimes, going out to have a cigar or just going out to watch a game, just doing something that's not going to be, a solution dependent. Like it doesn't need that stuff. So those are the type of things that I'm doing outside of those other ones.
So I'm curious. You talk a lot about, just the awareness that you've gained in terms of understanding or recognizing when you're feeling a certain way. Can you talk to or speak about, what that was like? How did you develop that awareness? What was it that, helped you kind of, clue in on, here's some warning signs or here's some, red flags that, hey, you know what? I need to stop. I need to, slow down, and I need to, start prioritizing my well-being again.
I'm normally an upbeat person. I like to joke. I like to laugh. I like to talk. And when I find myself in a position where I don't want to talk and my energy of being very happy and excited about today is lower than what it normally is, and I'm finding myself thinking thoughts that are taking me down a sadder road. Because most of the time it'll start off at the beginning of the day with, you missed this, or I wish I had that, or I didn't complete this thing here, or this is too hard. And we beat ourselves mentally in some way.
Oh, absolutely.
And once you start that beating, it's kind of like, oh man, how do you pull back from that? And then after you get the whooping, you still feeling the sting. Is like, how do I get over the pain of what I'm dealing with? So throughout my years, I've noticed how my mind functions when it starts to go down those roads of finding ways to guilt myself or to beat myself for not making the mark that I set for myself, or comparing myself to other people. Things along those lines is when I realize, okay, my thought process is not really building myself up. So I need to start looking at ways to change what I'm thinking or feeling, because those thoughts aren't really a reality of what's actually happening. It's just what I'm thinking about myself. So I'm putting this judgment on me. So once I stop putting so much judgment on myself is when I start to realize, okay, we can deal with this stuff. And then I start putting some of those tools, whether it's meditating, reading, or listening to something that's actually going to encourage and build me up, is when I start to come out of that feeling or that mindset.
Man, I think you just hit on something that is huge that I don't think that we discuss enough. As men, we oftentimes have a tendency to beat ourselves up. We oftentimes have a tendency to judge ourselves and speak harshly to ourselves for things that we, feel like we haven't accomplished or we haven't done, or the things that we, maybe felt like we let ourselves down with, and those things right there. And so, one of the questions that I ask in the wellness checkup episode is just that, going back to your example, if one of your kids was to fall and hurt themselves, one of your boys, was to come to you and say, hey man, I'm dealing with this, I'm struggling, or if it was your wife and you would show them compassion, you would approach it from a different way. Why is it so hard for us to approach ourselves with the same level of compassion, non-judgmental, love that we need to get through these situations? They're inevitably going to happen, but I'm curious as to why we are so hard on ourselves, and we act like, hey man, I have to beat myself up. I have to, it's enough that you get things from the outside. You may get stuff from, other people, but what you're doing to yourself in terms of that internal dialogue, that internal conversation that you're having with yourself. I think it's very, very powerful to observe and see if you are beating yourself down or if your internal conversation is building you up.
Well, it's one of the things I think I look at it as a society type situation, and we're not taught self-love. As a man, you're not taught to love yourself. You're not taught to take care of yourself. We're taught to take care of everybody else. We're taught to support everybody else. We're taught to be there for everybody else. We're taught to carry the stuff for everybody else, but we're not taught to deal with it ourselves or how to help ourselves deal with this. I think nowadays, and when I say nowadays, I mean within the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I think it's becoming more common to hear men do things to take care of themselves for their own mental health. But before then, it wasn't something that is discussed or talked about or shared, even between homeboys.
So what I'm hearing you really say, or the thought that it's spurring in my mind as I listen to you, is that we really have to learn how to shift what we feel like is valuable. We focus our energy, we focus our time on providing, and we feel like our value as men is wrapped up solely in what we can provide, how we can, find a solution to this, how we can fix this or how we can fix that, and how we can make things better. And you hit the nail on the head. We haven't been taught how to love ourselves, how to value ourselves, to understand that our value is greater than the possessions, the material things, the resources that we provide. And so we have to learn to take the focus from just being a provider of material possessions to valuing ourselves.
Yeah.
To really, being able to love on ourselves and, really feel like we're worth it. I think that it's strange even sitting here saying that, because you just, so many thoughts are running through my head right now. Like you were spot on. I can't ever remember, having any kind of conversation growing up thinking like, hey man, it's okay for me to show myself love, and so that's why I asked, a self-care or self-love routine, things that we can do daily to show ourselves love and to appreciate ourselves. But not only that, but I think that we have to learn to forgive ourselves for our shortcomings. One of the things that I normally do when I'm feeling like I'm carrying some weight on myself is I go look in the mirror and I say, Josh, I forgive you for, and I may list, hey, not showing up like this. Josh, I forgive you for, allowing this to happen to you, or for, not responding in this situation this way. And, I do that on a consistent basis because that helps me to check in with me. Do you do anything like that? I know you said the affirmations. Do you do anything like that where you, have a process of forgiving yourself for, whatever, shortcomings or issues or things that you war with yourself?
Yeah, man. The crazy thing, I think it's the crazy thing. We had a discussion. He was telling me, he's like, Jahari, one of the things that you should probably do is go through the same process. Tell yourself that I forgive myself of this, and then make a promise to yourself that you're going to make this change or this commitment to yourself to doing that. So that has definitely been one of my things that I have incorporated into my day-to-day life now. It's like, if I'm falling short, I'll tell myself, Jahari, I forgive you for fucking up on this.
Yeah.
I forgive you for not doing this right here when you were supposed to or whatever. And then telling myself it's okay. And then telling myself, hey, I commit to you that we're going to do this, because at the end of the day, it's you. It's you that you have to deal with this and push yourself, because any external force can push you, but it still becomes a choice that you have to make, whether or not you're going to allow that to push you forward or if you're going to stay where you are. I think a lot of times we fall back on this excuse that I don't have a choice and I ain't got a choice to do this or be this or feel this way. I don't have a choice. And at the end of the day, we really do have a choice. When you don't make a choice to do anything different, you made a choice.
Absolutely.
So it's making the mental choice to do something different, to be something different. We can be anyone that we want to be. We can deal with whatever we want to. You just got to make that choice and that step to go towards it. There's nothing that's impossible for us to do. It's just, you just got to make the choice that you can make it happen. And you got to go forward through it. That's the only way you're going to be able to fix it or get healed from it or get better from it, is you have to push yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. You have to push yourself. But we do still need that support that encourages us on that road while we're doing it.
Absolutely. The support, the encouragement is good from a supplemental standpoint. But there is no substitute for you making a conscious choice and prioritizing yourself. I think that, a detriment of men is that we look and we choose to serve others before we look and we choose to serve ourselves and make sure that we're okay.
Crazily, I'm sitting here we're talking, and I'm like, it's like when you buy a gift to somebody, you don't mind blowing a lot of money on somebody else. If it's your old lady, it's your girlfriend, you don't mind buckling out a couple $100, a couple $1,000 to make sure that they good. But then do you spend that same money on you?
So what you just said is huge, man. And that's going to be a whole nother episode, man. As men, we definitely have to learn to appreciate and, again, show yourself some love. I had an issue with that, huge issue with that. And like I said, this is going to definitely be another episode because I learned through just understanding, having conversation with my wife. It was really hard for me to receive, gifts. It was really hard for me to go, spend stuff on myself because I've been so trained and it's been so conditioned and ingrained in me that like I need to be making sure that I'm taking care of other people. I need to be making sure that they're straight. And so, when it comes a time or a moment where I'm thinking about doing something for me, it's almost like, maybe I should probably go do this for that person. And it's like, no, you have to get to a place where you prioritize yourself. One of the things that I say is that self-love and self-care is not selfish. And I think a lot of men have to understand that. I think we've been beat down verbally, through society when we, choose or take moments where we prioritize ourselves, and I think we have to begin to do that, normalize that behavior, because it's not selfish. Example that I give is that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're depleted from giving and fixing and putting out fires and, finding solutions for everybody else, that you don't have the capacity to help yourself, something's wrong with that.
Yeah. But it's just like you were saying, like the selfish part, we have made it to be such a negative thing to be selfish. I think it's with everything else in life, we have to find a balance with it. It's okay for you to be selfish with yourself, selfish with your time, selfish with your thoughts, because that's what you need to do for yourself at times. So you do need to take some time for you, and it's okay. It's okay for you to do some stuff for yourself. It's okay. And we have to be okay with that. Just like you said, we have to be okay. And it's all right to be selfish. We just got to balance out how we're managing that.
I kind of look at selfish, in my mind, I see it as being self-oriented, because selfish, when you hear the word, there has been such a negative connotation with this. Oh man, this person is doing this, or this person is, but I think it's that same mindset that we take. It's the perspective that we choose to see that word in that, holds us captive and doesn't allow us to fully, look and take care of ourselves. We end up as men sacrificing so much of ourselves, to take care of others and to do for others. And we often wear that as a badge of honor. Hey man, I neglected myself, so that I could do this, or I could, give this person this, or have this person could get that, or they could do this, or, I work, 60 hours or 80 hours to be able to provide this, or to do this, or to do that. But the reality is that you're wearing yourself out. And, what we often don't realize is that when we wear ourselves out like that, the true resources that actually, give us the meaningful connections and experiences in our lives get depleted. Our energy, the love that we have, because we begin to build up resentment from sacrificing ourselves so many times. I got to fall on the sword every single time to do this. So all of the things that really bring value to the relationships and the people that we love, we end up, because we are so ingrained in this, I can't focus on me. I can't be self-oriented and make sure that I'm okay. We end up, losing and missing out on that. And there are a lot of relationships that suffer as a result of that.
Yeah, they do. I'm listening to you. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking about there's the statistic on how women live longer than men. And my thoughts behind that is because we carry so much weight. We carry emotional weight, financial weight, our own mental weight, and we're not given the avenues or the venues to deal with that stuff and move forward. But women are. It's acceptable for a woman to deal with her emotions, whether they are outlandish and crazy and wild. It's okay. But a man, it's like you get looked at differently for doing that. We've got to put ourselves first. We got to take ourselves from dying on the sword and taking the bullet for everybody, and start looking at how we need to protect ourselves, how we need to build ourselves up. Because as you were talking about on the plane, is that when the masks come down, they tell you to put your mask on first and then take care of everybody else. So in the same way is that in order for you to be the best man that you can be for the people that you love, you got to take care of yourself.
Must. Yes, sir.
In order for you to be the good person for them, you got to do that. If you got children, you got daughters, we're the example of what we're putting in front of them for them to look at what they're going to have later on. Their relationship or the man that they're with, they're looking at you. as the example, which is one of those pressures that we carry. We don't talk about it a lot, but that's a pressure that we carry.
Absolutely. I mean, I have conversations on a regular basis with fathers that, I ask, if you couldn't say another word, if you couldn't give your son any more advice, if you couldn't give your daughter any more advice, what example, what would you show? What would you demonstrate in your actions that would help them, be better, that would help them, learn how to function and move throughout life? And, I think prioritizing yourself and showing yourself love are things that I've kind of consistently heard, from these men. And part of that, when I think about it, you look at your daughters, and I hear some men talk about their sons and just, normalizing, hey, it's okay, man. I think you have a very unique perspective with daughters because you get to kind of teach them how to respond to a man when he's dealing with something, which is I don't know that a lot of women know kind of how to operate in that they know how to deal with their emotions, but because it comes across as so foreign for a man to actually be dealing with something, the concept seems so like far-fetched that, oh, as a man, you can actually have emotions and you can be sad and you can be dealing with things. I think that they lack the knowledge or the skill to do it at times. And so, what you're able to pour into them, I think is going to help them with the men that they deal with in their life and as they go throughout this journey as well. So, I want to just again say thank you for taking this time to have this conversation. It's a very, very, very needed conversation. And, my hope is that more men will be willing to have these type of conversations to express how they feel, what they're thinking, and do it from an honest and transparent place. No shame, no fear of judgment. Nobody's manhood is being called into question. I think it takes, like I said, a lot of courage, a lot of strength to acknowledge a weakness, to acknowledge a fault, to acknowledge when you're in pain. It takes a lot of strength to be able to say, I need help. It takes that. And so, I commend any brother that, is willing to speak up and say, hey, man, I'm not trying to do this on my own. One of the things that I say, and I mean it, it's one of the African proverbs that I love that really resonates with me, is that if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. And this, forum, this podcast is my attempt to bring men together. It's my attempt to get us to learn to go together, man. And that, we can build each other up, that we can really help strengthen each other, because I think that we strengthen our families, we strengthen our communities, we strengthen the world when we can support each other, when we can be healthy, not just physically, but mentally. And when we can prioritize our well-being, I think that is a powerful place to be in. And it's a place that overall has impact on everybody and everyone that we come into contact with, man. And so, again, I just want to say I appreciate you. I thank you for sharing your experience. One last thing before we wrap up, let me ask you this. Is there any last piece of advice or anything that you want to share with the men, and just leave as a lasting thought as we wrap this up?
The thing that I would like to leave with you guys is that things don't get fixed unless you speak about it. We will take your actions and the way that you are as is if you never say that it's, a problem. So you can never fix. I was thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking of like a squeaky wheel. We see the squeaky wheel, but nobody really cares to fix the squeaky wheel because the squeaky wheel is still functioning and doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
It's still carrying whatever load and pressing forward and making its way along the path and journey. But at the end of the day, that wheel is not supposed to squeak. And that squeaking sound is the cry out that, hey, I need some help and something's broke and I need to fix it.
It's a red flag. That's a warning sign.
And so I would say, men, whatever your squeak is, make sure it's known and get that fixed. And find a safe place to talk about the stuff and get that out. And women, understand that men are looking for a safe place. Can you be that safe place for your man or for your son or for your daughter? But we need that. So that would be my last thought is be a safe place for the people that you care about.
Again, brother, I appreciate you, man. Again, this is Jahari Collier, podcast host and good friend. His podcast is Adjusted Perspective.
No, it's Adjusted Perception.
Perception. Oh.
It's okay because the way that I look at it is like this is that. Adjusted perception is a perspective change. So if I can change the way that somebody perceives something, I can change the way that they see it. And we got to change their opinion in order to change their thoughts. Or to change their thoughts, that's what it is. Change your thoughts in order to change your opinion. We're working through this, people.
We're working through it. We are. Again, I appreciate this, brother, man. I appreciate you so much, man. And I know that this will be a blessing to the men that hear it. And like I said, I appreciate you sharing your experience and just taking us through this and the willingness to help and support other men by sharing your story. I'm going to speak for you right now. You stop me if I'm not speaking for you in the right way. But I just want to say that I think that we are both willing to hold space, to have conversations, to be a safe place for any individual that is listening. I say it all the time. You can find me online at The Authentic Podcast on IG or The Authentic Exchange Podcast on IG or Twitter. You can reach out to me via email at The Authentic Exchange Podcast at gmail.com. Anything that you need that I can help, if you just need a listening ear, I'm here. I'm willing. Jahari, how can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Right now, you can connect with me on IG at jville_boy, BOI. So it's going to be JVLLE_BOI. I believe that's what it is. And you look me up, you'll find me. I'm the only one out there that I know of. But soon we'll have Adjusted Perception sitting out there so everybody can reach me on that way also. Because the only way that we can change the way that we see something is to change our point of view. And our perspective has to be adjusted in order for us to see other things differently. Being stuck in the same place, you're only going to see it from that one direction. So be open to look at stuff from a different perspective.
I appreciate you, bro. Until next time, I'll holla.